talk about wealth of knowledge. You bring it all together.
Put the work in now to get yourself structured and organized and documented.
We need to grow this top line.
There is no one size fits all for this industry.
Hey Restorers, thanks for checking out another Restoration Masterclass sponsored by Encircle. This year we are talking all about profitability, and I'm excited to have Rod Cruz with me for this episode. He is from the Trifecta Growth Institute. He is also a world-class skydiver. I need to have him back on the podcast in another setting to just have a casual conversation about skydiving, because the stuff that this man does is amazing. So maybe at the end we'll have time for one skydiving story. I think that we should do that at the end. But anyway, Rod, I'm going to toss it over to you and have you kind of introduce yourself and share a little bit of your background in the industry and about Trifecta, so people kind of know where you're coming from on the topic of profitability.
Sure. Thanks for the warm introduction there, Michelle. And actually, I'm actually going skydiving this month to get ready for a competition. So thanks a lot.
Love it. Yeah.
Well, a little bit about myself, Michelle. I'm a retired Army Green Beret and Ranger, and after 21 years in the military and doing my service there, and started not a restoration business, but a home building business originally with another buddy of mine. And then when I did retire, we started working with the defense industry, did a lot of stuff over in Afghanistan, Iraq with electrical power plants, modular data centers, and of course we were still building homes. When sequestration took place in 2014, I was looking for a little bit of diversity. So I ended up buying a failing restoration company of all things. So it was not profitable. It was not doing well. And I even had to make payroll the week before I bought it, just to keep people on staff and give us an opportunity to recover.
Wow.
So, and we took that company, I took that company to being profitable in less than 6 months. And then also we went from being one of the worst companies within our mountain region states to being one of the best ones within the top 20. I'd say the top 200 if you look at Contractor Connections top performers, but we were always recognized as one of the top 3 year after year. So that's kind of, I guess, my history, and gives me a little bit of understanding of how to get a company to be profitable.
And talk a little bit about Trifecta and what you do through Trifecta, so people know that background a little bit.
Sure. So I sold my company a couple years ago. And as I was doing some public speaking and started helping other companies with some business coaching and helping them turn their companies around, I decided I was going to create Trifecta Growth Institute, and we were going to focus on training, leadership, and coaching. And we call it TLC. And with some of the biggest 3 needle movers I had in my company to get it to be profitable, I said, well, if these are just some of the things that I experienced, I know there's a ton more, because during that transformation, it was a good journey. And there's a lot of good companies out there that are hurting or trying to get to be really good, and they're just lacking a little bit of training and knowledge and leadership in that aspect of it. So that's why we were formed, and we believe on having 3 successes. So to get started.
All right. Okay. So what do you see as the number one profit killer in restoration companies that you work with?
Man, that is the easiest question I've ever been teed up with. So being reactive instead of being proactive. And, and that rolls right into not having a plan on how you're going to do your projects, or even having your company plan of how you're going to have procedures or processes in that aspect of it. And I've even heard some companies, they refer to their project managers as being a firefighter, and they take pride in that. Oh, I'm firefighting. Well, that is the worst thing you could be. If you want to be a firefighter, get out of the restoration industry, go take the firefighter exam and test, and go be a firefighter. It shouldn't be that hard, because that makes it twice as hard, and it's not predictable to be able to understand how much profit you're going to get on a job.
Okay, so that was a perfect segue into talking about project management, more specifically, and how that affects a company's overall profitability. So how much can a single project manager being inefficient and ineffective affect an overall affect a job's ability to be profitable? And then how much does that spill over into the entire company and making it difficult to be profitable?
Sure. From my experience, project management's everything, especially in this business. A lot of companies, I ask this question a lot. I said, what business are you in? And they're like, oh, I'm in the restoration business or the construction business. And I said, well, I disagree with you. I would say you're in the project management business and the customer service business. And that restoration and construction services is a byproduct of what you deliver. And if you don't have a good understanding in your company about how to do project management, at that point, you're just trying to provide construction services. But in reality, a homeowner or someone else can do that themselves. They can hire somebody to come do the construction. They can hire somebody that. But what they're really hiring a restoration company in this industry is to provide the project management and the ability to run their job efficiently and effectively. If a project manager, a lot of people, have these numbers that they want project managers to be able to manage in projects. And I agree with that 100%. I've heard is somewhere between 1 to 1.5 million a year. I think 2 to 2.5 is where a project manager needs to be personally, if they know what they're doing. If they don't know what they're doing, then they're going to run about $1 million, $1.5 million. Now, the real question is, how profitable is that going to take them? If they're doing blind spending, or they're not putting a plan together, and then all of a sudden their projects, instead of being 40% profitable gross profit margins or 50% gross profit margins, now we're looking at them being around the 20 to 30. And if you think about, if your company's really into project management, you are running jobs every year. It's based on the number of jobs you get in. So if you have a one project manager, let's just take that $1.5 million mark, right? If they're managing $1.5 million in revenue, and they're only generating 5 to 6% profit, opposed to generating 10 to 12% profit, you do the math. It's a big deal. And especially when you've got multiple project managers that are doing that, if you're $7 to $10 million company, those dollars add up very quickly.
Yes. Okay. So what qualities do you see in the best project managers in the industry? The ones that you've come in contact with, or maybe have gone through training, whatever it may be. What do the best of the best rock at?
So the first thing is they're proactive. Number two, they're a lifelong learner. They are looking for ways to be efficient. They're a leader. They have a project team. It's not them by themselves. Many companies I see have one project manager doing everything from start to finish. I call it a one-legged person in a butt kicking contest. And sooner or later, that leg is going to get tired, and you're going to have to sit down, right?
Yeah.
And and so I also see they have to be resourceful. They have to be a leader. They have to plan out their projects, and they have to know what we call the iron triangle. They've got to create the iron triangle so they understand what the constraints are on their project. And they've got to tie their scope, their budget, and their schedule, tie that in and lock it down as a performance baseline. And then also they got to put quality into that. And so if you think about that, that's a lot of work, right? And in this business, for us to be profitable, a company has to have project managers that can manage multiple projects. A lot of project managers say they have 30 projects they're managing, and I'd probably tell them they're not doing it well. They may have 30 folders on their desk, but unless they have a very robust team, they're not going to be managing 30 projects at one time. At best, we're looking at 10 to 15, and that's if they've got a team. Now, they still have other ones in the pipeline that are ready to be planned or ready to be started, something like that. I think there's a confusion on how many projects they're actually managing. And so it's very important for them to have that ability to plan those out and then be able to have a quick reference guide to where they're making sure that project is getting pushed along through the pipeline to get to completion.
Perfect. Okay. So if you could offer restoration companies who are listening to this one piece of advice, it doesn't have to be project management related. It can be anything. One piece of advice that they can take from this to help increase their profitability and put into action maybe right away, what would it be?
I'd say go back and look at your project managers and, see what they're doing, do your own assessment. But more importantly, get them trained, get some training. We provide training. We have a project management training course called the Linchpin. And, we just had a couple of people call us back, and they've actually said they just met their bonus for the first time. And that's the first time anyone in the company's met the bonus. And they've done it 2 quarters in a row now after taking our training. So, And they had a good understanding of what they were supposed to do, but it wasn't defined at this company. The company let them do what they wanted because the company didn't know. Whether it was the owner or the general manager, whoever it was, they didn't know what they wanted. And so they just let the project managers run. And a lot of the project managers want to do the right thing, but they don't know either because they don't have a background in project management or training in it. So at that point, I would say assess your company and get some training in there. That's the biggest thing. And make sure your company knows where the direction you're going. Because if you don't know what you're going, where you're headed, how the hell is your project manager going to know where they're going? You're just leaving it up to chance.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Great advice. Thank you. Okay. So we have time for a skydiving story before we wrap it up. I think we have to ask for one. I've also gotten to see pictures. So if you meet Rod in person at a show, ask for pictures. Don't walk the plank. I'm going to tell people not to walk the plank. I cannot. But anyway, okay. Do you have a skydiving story for us?
Oh, I got a ton of them, but I guess I'll go back to my second national championship. We were in Chicago, and in Chicago, I think it's there's like a couple different skydiving places in there, but we were in Chicago. It was at the national championship, and we had a bad round 7. And I mean, when we came down, the team, they're storming, we're pissed off at each other because we had a breakdown. And we were up by about 7 points going into that round. And we lost every bit of that lead. And so we went into round 8, tied. And then, we were down by 2 in round 8. Okay. Then after round 8, we lost another point. So we were down 3 going into round 9. And
how many rounds are there?
10, there's 10 rounds.
That's okay.
And so as we're sitting there getting ready to go up for round 9, we've had some issues with us. Our team's not bonding very well right now. Yeah. And we're sitting there, and there was a move we had to make, and everybody's confidence is down, And so we're going through this debate, and finally we said, no, we're taking what we did in training and we're going to apply it. And we did, and we came back and we tied in that round and tied it up going into round 10. Round 10, we tied it up again. And so we had to go to a jump off round. And in the jump off round is the first time it happened in quite so many years. And we lost a point on the hill, which is when we start turning our points. And we ended up tying again. And that, right, exactly. Round 11, it's the last jump off, and we're tied again. So now you may be asking yourself, so what do you do next? Yeah. We didn't know either. So we had to go look it up in the rules. And so as we went back and looked at the rules went back to the jumps you did before. And it said, if you tie at that point, they go back to round 10. Well, and they look at who won that round. Well, we tied that round. And then they said they go back to the highest round. And then based on that highest round, then they look at what the final time was before when the last formation was completed.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So guess which round that was? Round 9, round 8, round 9 when we tied it up, and we took the hard move, and we gained back 3 points. So that was a great time. It was a great first 4-way championship I had. It's very rewarding. And I guess that moral of the story is, don't look back and do something that you do. Don't look back at something that you wish you would have done in that piece of it. Go with what you're trained with, go with your instincts, and put your best foot forward.
When in doubt, go back to the training. I love it. Well, that was a great story. Thank you, Rod, and good luck on your jumps this month. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you at some shows soon.
Sounds great, Michelle. I appreciate it.